Agent-centric. If you've watched any of our other videos, you have no doubt heard us use that term over and over again to describe LPT Realty when we discuss the brokerage model here. And I think a lot of agents don't fully understand what we mean when we say that. So today I want to break it down, explain to you what agent-centric means to us and why I think we're one of the most agent-centric brokerages out there. I want to do a side-by-side comparison of 5 different areas to compare and contrast LPT Realty with EXP Realty and show some of the differences between the two models and show why I think we're the most agent-centric. My name is Mark Ames with Elevated Agents. We're getting started right after this. All right, guys, welcome back. Today, we are talking about the term agent-centric, what it means, why it's important, and how we're different here at LPT Realty as opposed to some of the other brokerages. For the sake of comparison, I want to compare a few of these items directly with EXP Realty just because we inevitably talk to the most agents who are currently at EXP when they're looking to make the shift over here to LPT Realty. So to make this a little bit easier for anyone who's trying to decide between the two brokerages, maybe you're a new agent or maybe you're coming from another brokerage or maybe you're at EXP now and you've heard a lot of hype about LPT and you're trying to figure out what some of the differences are. So I want to break down a few different areas where I think LPT Realty is probably the most agent-centric brokerage in a lot of different areas. And I'm not going to save the best for last. I'm going to jump in actually to the most important items first in terms of things that get brought up to us during our one-on-one Zoom calls with these agents. I would highly recommend listening to all 5 as I think all of these can be important to you, but I want to start with the most powerful and the most important for most agents, which is our comp plans. So I want to start with EXP Realty, just kind of break down what their comp structure is, and then I'm going to compare and contrast that with what we offer here at LPT Realty, and then show some differences of why I think we're probably a little more agent-centric. So EXP Realty has one comp plan that you get to choose from. No matter where it is you're coming from or what it is you want to do in your business, you have one comp plan to choose from, and that is an 80-20 split with a $16,000 cap. Now, if you're not familiar with how a traditional commission structure works, the split is the percentage that the brokerage keeps and that you keep. So the 80% is the amount of the commission, the gross commission that you get to keep as the agent, and the 20% is the amount of commission that goes to the brokerage until you have paid off the cap. And so if you have a $10,000 gross commission, you're going to keep $8,000, $2,000 is going to go to the brokerage, and you're going to do that until you've done $16,000 total paid into the brokerage. And now this is all done in your anniversary year. So when you join the company, that's your anniversary date, and it's on a running 12 months. So every 12 months, you have to recap. And so that's how that structure works. Now, one of the huge benefits that EXP offers its agents, and really one of the first to do this, is a revenue share option. And so there's been some other brokerage models that have done profit sharing, but EXP took a different approach and went to a revenue share model wherein you can attract agents to the brokerage. So say a friend of yours is newly licensed and they're looking to join a brokerage, you can share the EXP model with them and have them join, or an agent that's at another brokerage, maybe that you did a deal with, would like to come over. They can name you as their sponsor, and at that point in time, anytime they do a deal, a portion of the revenue that goes to the company gets distributed to you as the sponsoring agent. And you get to do that 7 levels down. And so these downlines and these rev share models can grow pretty big over time if it's something that you want to get into. And so now I want to talk about LPT Realty's comp plans because we have more than just one. So I want to start with the one that's closest to what EXP has, which is a very similar model. It's an 80-20 split, right? So 80% is going to you, the agent, 20% is going to the brokerage, and we have a $15,000 cap. So our cap is $1,000 less, $15,000 as opposed to $16,000. But outside of that, the structure is pretty similar. And then within that model, we also have a revenue share model wherein we can attract agents, and then a portion of the revenue that would go to the company gets distributed to the agents, and we can also go 7 levels down. And there's some differences between our rev share structures in terms of how many frontline qualifying agents you need, where at EXP you need 40 and at LPT you need between 15 and 20. And so those are some specifics that I'll say for another video, but generally speaking, those models are very, very similar. However, we offer another model here at LPT Realty called our Business Builder Plan. And what's super unique about this, and I don't know of any other brokerage out there that offers this split commission structure, and so at our Business Builder model, you have a flat fee for every transaction. And so that's a $500 flat fee with a $5,000 cap. So what does that mean? So that means that every time you do a deal, instead of taking a percentage of the deal, they're taking a flat amount, $500. And they're going to do that for the first 10 deals, at which point you've paid in $5,000 total. And now you are capped and you go to 100% commission plus your transaction fee. And so the really unique thing about that is not only do you have the super low cap of $5,000, but that rev share option, you still have the opportunity to attract and build a downline that you can later benefit from in terms of revenue share. Now, what happens when you're on that business builder plan is that any revenue share dollars that get generated, you do not get paid on because you have voluntarily selected to have that lower cap, that $5,000 cap, as opposed to the $15,000 cap that we have with our rev share partners. But the cool thing about this, and if you're an agent at EXP, you can probably relate to this, is that even if you are going to participate in revenue share, it can take a while to build up. And I know a lot of agents are going to come in and maybe they want to spend the first 2 or 3 years really just focusing on their business and then have aspirations to later get into the revenue share side. And at that point in time, it's still going to take probably a few years to kind of build that revenue share up to where you're getting some kind of meaningful amount. But that whole time while you're at EXP, you are still paying that 80-20 split with the $16,000 cap. And so where I think the agent-centric part of LPT Realty comes in is we give the agents the choice to choose whether or not, one, they want to have anything to do with agent attraction. And if they don't, then the business builder plan is absolutely perfect for them, right? The 78,000 agents who are currently at EXP that are not doing anything in terms of revenue share on day one can drop their cap by $11,000 by simply moving from EXP over to LPT and continuing to do the same amount of business. And I think a lot of people will look at that and say, well, $11,000, that's not huge. Maybe that's one deal a year. But if you look at that over time, and let's say you look at that over a 10-year career, that's $110,000 extra that you're going to be paying into EXP Realty versus LPT Realty for the exact same amount of work. So over a 10-year period at EXP, if you're a capping agent, you hit your cap every year, that's $160,000 that you're going to pay in terms of cap. And at LPT Realty on our business builder plan, you'd pay in $50,000. So you've got $110,000 extra that's going to go to EXP Realty that we're not going to take here at LPT Realty. And so one of the things that I think stands out to me is that when LPT Realty was formed and Robert Palmer was coming up with the whole business model of the company, he very well could have done what pretty much every single other real estate brokerage has done, which is give agents one choice. Right? If you're at most brokerages, you have one choice in terms of how you're going to be compensated. And so we didn't need to make this decision, but from an agent-centric standpoint and giving agents more options as opposed to fewer options, this is one that to me really stands out as being a huge benefit for agents that can make this choice to either one, choose whether or not they want to participate in revenue share. And if they do want to participate in revenue share, making it so that they don't have to pay an extra $10,000 to $11,000 in caps every single year just for the privilege of attracting a downline. And they can wait until that downline is big enough until they can actually start to offset that higher cap with those dollars. And so that's a way that I really think kind of stands out in terms of LPT being more agent-centric in that front. And something that I think really stands us out, not just from EXP, but almost every other brokerage model that's out there right now. So the next thing I want to talk about is probably not going to affect as many agents as the first example with compensation, but it's still going to affect a lot of agents, and that is how we structure our teams. And so a lot of agents, unfortunately, do not know this until likely it's too late when they join a brokerage. And again, I want to be clear here. Most brokerage models are very similar to EXP in this, and LPT is kind of the exception, and I'm going to talk about why that's important. But at EXP in particular, when you start a team, and there's 4 different types of teams that you can start at EXP. You can have a domestic partnership, assuming you're a husband and wife team, you can share that cap. And so you both go on the same team, and if you're both selling husband and wife, you can share that cap, which is a benefit. We also offer that at LPT Realty. You can have a self-organized team, which is basically just a bunch of agents kind of coming together, deciding to work as a team. There's really no special benefits there related. But then there's a standard team and a mega icon team. And so, and I have the team agreement for EXP Realty here, just so I'm kind of giving you all the most current, up-to-date numbers on this. And so for a standard team, in order to start that at EXP Realty, you have to document a minimum of $6 million or 30 closed transactions in the prior 12 months. You have to have a minimum of 2 members on the team. And then the cool thing is that you do have the option for a reduced cap option with this. And so you can actually get a half cap option for your agents. However, and here's the big however, they are going to cap the amount that you can pay the agents on your team. And so there's a half cap option, so you can bring your cap down from $16,000 to $8,000, which is still $3,000 more than our business builder cap here at LPT Realty. So you've got a 60% higher cap even with that reduced half cap. But your team leader has to charge you a minimum of 25% for any team member choosing the reduced cap option on an arm's length transaction. And so that becomes a little bit problematic in that you as the team leader now do not have full autonomy in determining how you're going to compensate your team. Now, I know a lot of teams out there are on 50-50 splits if they're a team that's generating a lot of leads. But what ends up happening is as team members grow, so as a brand new agent, you may join and decide that you want to be on a team to get the additional hand-holding and support and leads that come from being on a team, and you're willing to accept that higher split with your team of maybe a 50-50, a 60-40, something like that. But as you get more experienced and a lot of the business that you're generating is coming in on your own and is not coming from the team, that team leader still cannot compensate you to the level that they would like to or may want to in order to retain you on that team if you choose that reduced cap option. So while you can go from a $16,000 cap to an $8,000 cap on a standard team or on a mega icon team, and so in order to start a mega icon team, you need to document a minimum of $40 million in production and 175 closed transactions in the previous 12 months. And in that case, you are eligible for a $4,000 cap, so a quarter cap. So now $4,000, you're pretty close to what really all of our business builder model agents at LPT Realty are going to be on. But again, the same thing. There's a 25% minimum transaction fee or minimum split that team leader has to give you for any deals that you're doing. And so where this becomes problematic in the long run is, again, you're starting to generate more deals on your own, and now you're not relying as heavily on the team. You'd like to stay a part of the team, but you have to weigh, is it worth paying that 25% on all of these transactions that you're responsible for generating to the team leader? Or does it now become more financially beneficial for you to leave that team and not have to give up that 25% that the team leader has to charge you, is mandated to charge you if you choose that lower cap option? So you've got a few options. You could stay on the team, you could jump up to the $16,000 cap, and now you do not have to have that 25% minimum. But again, this just creates a scenario where you kind of have to ask, who does this benefit? And so I don't particularly see how it benefits the team leader or the members of the team. I do see where it benefits the brokerage. So that's an area where, again, I would say not the most agent-centric decision. Now, when you contrast that with what we have set up here at LPT Realty, where we don't make any determinations whatsoever in terms of how you have to compensate the agents on your team. And so that's what we call monetizing the gap, wherein you as the team leader, you're going to be a rev share partner. So in order to start a team at LPT Realty, you do have to be a rev share partner, but every single member on your team, if they want to, can be on the business builder plan. So they can have a $5,000 cap across the board, and there's no special requirements in terms of the amount of volume that you have to be bringing in, where you need 40 million in transactions and 175 closed transactions in the previous 12 months just to get your agents down to a $4,000 cap. You can have all of your agents at a $5,000 cap regardless of how you structure it. And we don't tell you the maximum amount that you're allowed to compensate your agents. And so this really helps agents long-term to stay on teams and not outgrow teams, because that team leader can work with you to find a way to continue to compensate you a way that is going to work for you as the agent, retain you on the team, and there's no misalignment of incentives between the team, the agent, and the brokerage. And so if you think about it, with some of these reduced cap options, there's a disincentive for the brokerage to have you on one of these teams, right? They are going to make less money. If you go on one of these standard teams at a half cap or a mega icon team at a quarter cap, they are making less money off of you, and so your incentives are not aligned. However, at LPT Realty, we've tried to align our incentives or really remove any disincentive from the brokerage for you joining a team. And so that's another area that I just think is a small difference for some people, but can make a huge difference for other people in the long run as you grow throughout your career, to not force you to have to jump off of a team just because you don't want to continue to pay that 25% to the team leader for the privilege of having that lower cap. We would prefer that team leaders have the option to have all of their team members on a lower cap to begin with, and then be able to compensate them whatever percentage they work out individually. So that's the second item. Now, the third item I want to talk about is, and again, this may seem silly to some people, but branding. And so the decision that we've made here at LPT Realty, and I'll give EXP this, they have a very simplistic logo as well. They haven't gone overboard. And I think EXP's branding is pretty strong in terms of being attractive and making it somewhat easy for agents to incorporate their own personal branding into the EXP brand. But one thing that they do is limit you on colors. And so if you're a brand new agent, it may not be a huge deal because you may not have any type of personal brand built yet. And so you can kind of align your personal brand with what EXP gives you as their kind of mandated color palette. But we've taken a different approach here at LPT Realty, which is you can use any colors that you want whatsoever. So whether you're starting a new brand and you want colors that are not within a pre-selected palette, or whether you already have an established brand and you decide to join LPT Realty, we don't want you to have to walk away from that branding that we've been using, and we want our brand and your brand to mesh together as cleanly and simply and seamlessly as possible. And so at EXP Realty, these are your color options. So you have 8, so there's the black, white, orange, and blue, and then you have a dark blue, light blue, light gray, and dark gray. So you do have some options there. You got kind of 2 main color palettes, 8 different total colors that you can choose from. But we think that giving agents the option to do whatever they want with their branding, so long as they're following state guidelines in terms to location, placement, size of the broker's logo and their personal logo, we want you to be the star. We want you to stand out. And we think that's a very agent-centric decision to make, as opposed to cornering you into using certain brokerage colors that we have decided you need to use. So I know that's a small item, but again, it just is one difference in terms of our approach to giving agents more options. Now, the next item I want to talk about is not going to affect a ton of agents, but it surprisingly enough has affected more agents than I thought it would. And I've learned that through a lot of the one-on-one Zoom calls that we do with agents who are considering partnering with us here. And they're licensed in multiple states. And this could be for a variety of different reasons. You know, I'm licensed in multiple states. I'm licensed in Virginia and Florida. Now, I don't actively sell real estate in Virginia right now, and I'm really only selling in Florida, but I'm still licensed in Virginia. And what I find most often, though, is a lot of times when you have agents who live close to borders. So let's say you live in the panhandle of Florida, you may also sell in Alabama, or, you know, we got a guy who's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he sells in Georgia also. So a lot of these agents who are on the borders tend to do business in both. And EXP has determined that if you are licensed in multiple states, it is mandated that you put your license with EXP in every single state that you're licensed in. And so while I think that most agents would likely make this decision on their own in terms of being able to split their cap between the 2 states, so if you're selling real estate in Alabama and Florida, it's nice to have all of that under a single brokerage so you're only paying a single cap. But I can also see a number of different instances where the agent may choose to not move their brokerage to the same brokerage for both states. And there may be a compelling reason for why that is. And so we've taken the approach that as the agent, that is your choice. And so if you want to be licensed with LPT Realty in one state and not another, that is your choice. And we want you to do what is best for you and your business, because we think that you know what's best for you and your business. And we don't want to mandate that just because you join LPT Realty in one state, you have to join LPT Realty in every single state that you're licensed in. So again, I know that's a small difference that probably doesn't affect too many people, but for the agents that it does, it can be kind of a big deal. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so the last item that I want to talk about here, I was actually hesitant to even bring up, only because it caused a lot of controversy a couple months ago when this whole thing came out. And that relates to what happens when you leave the brokerage and what kind of control does the company impose on you after you have terminated your agreement and partnership with them. And so the background on this is at the end of 2022, EXP had made a change to their independent contractors agreement where they had moved some information that was previously in their policies and procedures manual and put it in the independent contractors agreement. And it caught a lot of people's attention because it was something that wasn't in there before, and it related to non-solicitation. And so just to make sure I'm not misquoting anything, I want to read directly from the independent contractors agreement. So this is on page 10 of 18, section 20, non-solicitation and disparagement. Agent agrees not to solicit, recruit, employ, or entice, either for themselves or another, directly or indirectly through a third party, EXP partners, affiliates, salespersons, agents, and/or employees to leave EXP during and after the agent's association with EXP. This obligation shall continue for a period of 2 years after the termination of association with an agent with EXP. This provision shall survive the expiration of agent's obligations to EXP pursuant to this ICA. So what they're saying is that for a period of 2 years after you leave EXP, they are not going to allow you to recruit, solicit, entice either an employee, a salesperson, an affiliate, a partner, an agent to leave the company. And so to Glenn Sanford's credit, after this came out and there was a little bit of hype and kind of uproar about it, he did a video conference where he explained that, you know, if you have a team, their goal is not to make it so that you can't take your team with you when you go. And I think what he's trying to stop is agents just dialing everyone in the EXP directly and trying to get them to leave. However, the language that's in there is the language that's in there. And so I'm not offering, you know, any type of legal advice or anything like that as to whether or not it's enforceable. Just know that that's in there. But a big difference between EXP and LPT in that sense is that we do not have that. Now, we do have a non-solicitation agreement, and I'll read you what ours says to be completely transparent. So this is on page 10 of our ICA, and this is section 19, non-solicitation and disclosure. During the term of this agreement, or for 1 year after the termination of this agreement, contractor agrees not to solicit, recruit, employ, or entice company employees to leave the company. And so the big difference there is they both mention company employees, but EXP's mentions nothing about affiliates, salespersons, or agents. And so Robert Palmer's take on this whole thing is that, and to be clear, when we first started EXP back in March of 2022, for the first couple of people that joined, the similar language that EXP has was in ours as well. However, when Robert Palmer found that out, he immediately had it removed because he said that was not his intention behind that independent contractors agreement. And his take is that he felt it was a bit hypocritical to tell an agent that when they join your brokerage, one way that they can make more money is by enticing and attracting and recruiting agents to join the brokerage. However, when they leave the brokerage, you don't allow them to do the same thing that you were encouraging them or at least allowing them to do while you were at the brokerage. And so he made the decision that we would not have that similar non-solicitation or recruitment of agents in our independent contractors agreement. And so again, I know this is a bit of a small thing and doesn't affect that many people, but I do want to point out these differences because I think they're going to be important to some people who look at that and say, well, whose best interest is that in? Is that in the best interest of the agent? Is it in the best interest of the brokerage? And I think most people would have a hard time arguing that that kind of language is going to be in the best interest of the agent. And so when it comes to agent-centric, those are just a few areas. And again, none of this is meant to bash EXP. I think EXP is a great brokerage. When I joined EXP, I think it was the best brokerage model that was available. Now, that was in 2021. LPT Realty had not come around yet. And I think that EXP Realty, when I joined EXP Realty, was the best brokerage model. However, a different model came out that has made a lot of these more agent-centric changes. And beyond just these things that we talked about, there's a number of different reasons that I chose to join LPT Realty and leave EXP Realty, and I'll go into that in another video, but I just want to point some of these items out for people who may not be aware of some of the more nuanced differences between the two models. I hope that this helps break down some of those questions that you may have about what does agent-centric mean, how is LPT different. If you want to learn more about LPT and you'd like to explore partnering with us here at LPT Realty and Elevated Agents, AJ and I would love to chat with you. Down in the description box below, you can schedule a private one-on-one Zoom call. We'd love to connect with you, answer any questions you have, kind of go through items like this and see if it might be the right fit for you. And if you want to take a deep dive into LPT Realty, we also did a full length, it's about an hour and 20-minute long video that goes into every single detail about the LPT Realty brokerage model. I'm going to link to that right here in the corner so you can check that out. I appreciate you guys watching this. I hope you found it helpful. I'll see you on the next video. Be well.